fourth year. I'm a public policy major, as he said. I am the president, and I live in Atlanta. That's not my hometown, but I live there, so it doesn't really matter where my hometown is. So,
Shout out to Columbus.
shout out to the woods?
Columbus.
Oh, okay. I was like, not from the woods. Okay.
The bush.
When Jenna sent the email that was like, hey, Urbana people, do you want to share? I read her email and then went on to the next one. And I didn't reply because I didn't feel like I had anything to share. I remember my first year after some of the students had gone to Urbana, people came back and they had heard God explain to them like what they needed to do for the rest of their lives, who their spouse would be. Seriously, people got married, you know, and so on. Okay. Yeah, other people, but like it was this epic thing where like God would speak to you like personally, like, hey, you be a missionary. And I did not necessarily have that experience. And so when Jenna was like, you guys should share, I was like, don't have much to say. It was awesome, but like everyone can say that. And then I think Hannah volunteered me to talk about BCM or something. And so here I am. But I'm really glad that I was kind of like signed up to talk about my experience. I think like, first of all, it's Friday, right? We all know that. It's Friday night and it's like maybe 8 o'clock now. And on Friday nights on a college campus, most people are, well, okay, on our campus, most people are either sleeping or watching something or getting ready to go out later or hang out with friends. And then some of us come to something like this. We come to a large group meeting of Christians or people who are interested in knowing about Christ, to sing songs in languages that we don't know, and to hear people talk about conferences we maybe didn't hear about. And I think that's really awesome. And I was in Bartlett a few minutes ago and someone was like, aren't you supposed to be at that large group thing? And I was like, aren't you? And they were like, no, that's not for me, that's for you. And they were like, well, have fun. And it was like, not really, they didn't think I would have fun, but they were, you know, you say that, like, oh, have fun, but it's like, really. But I think I learned a lot of things at Urbana. Let me start by saying that some of the people going to Urbana were like really excited, like Frederick, they had heard about it for like years before. And I think for me going to Urbana, I wasn't necessarily excited. I wasn't unexcited. I was just kind of like, whatever. I paid money, we fundraised, I should go. And I didn't see it as something that was exciting. Kind of like how I sometimes feel about large group or going to an event. It's like, I don't dislike it, I don't like it, it's just something I should do, right? And I think one thing that I really learned at Urbana was being excited about Jesus. And I think that David Platt, that's his name, right? He said that in his video, that we made Christ like this puny savior who needs us to like accept his salvation, and we forget that he's so great. And if we know his greatness, that's something we should be excited about, right? And I think that that was the main thing for me for Urbana, is like being excited about God and being in his presence and being with his people. And if that means coming on a Friday night to large group or spending 5 days of Christmas, okay, after Christmas, in St. Louis, or like rewatching a sermon because maybe I missed some things, then that's something that I want to do. And I remember that Callisto, who was the main expositor, he said that our generation is caught up with boozing and cruising. We're caught up with partying. And I think that's really true. I mean, if you look at our campus, I know like people in my dorm are just talking about going out tonight and what frat they would venture to. But I think when we think about our generation, we're really caught up with partying. We want excitement. And oftentimes being in God's presence is not that exciting. It doesn't seem that exciting. It seems dreadful maybe sometimes, you know, having to sing in languages we've never heard of or playing games before a large group, you know. And I think that was one thing that I really, really got from Urbana, is like being excited about God and being excited to waste time with God or waste our lives with God. If that means going into a mission or, I don't know, whatever else God is calling us to. And I should say also, because this is the reason I got signed up to speak. Another thing I really, I felt God was saying at Urbana was the importance of reaching out to the lost. I don't remember who, one of the speakers said, like, when you're lost, that means you belong somewhere. And I think that really hit home for me, because when I thought of the lost, I thought of like people who no one, like, they didn't belong, it didn't matter. And thinking that when we're lost, it's because we need to come home. And for me, I feel like God was really calling me, calling all of us to reach out to the lost. And not just the lost in India or some faraway place, but the lost on our campus. Our friends who we've given up on, who we stopped praying for because we don't think that they would ever care about this Jesus guy that we're so excited about. Yeah, I think those are like really two big things that I really got from Urbana. And I really loved all the things that everyone said, and the sessions were great. But it was just great to be around 17,000 people who every morning, every evening, every night were excited to be in God's presence. And for them, that was party time. For them, that was the party, that was the joy. And if you guys saw New Year's Eve at Urbana, it was, I mean, wow. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I hope that, you know, that kind of, that you guys can get something from that. I know it can be hard to hear people talk about this conference and this mission and feeling like you don't know what God is calling you to. But I think one thing that God is calling us all to is to be excited about Him and to be engaged with Him and to be excited to be in His presence. So yeah, that's my little thing. Okay.